All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
For sure, for sure.
Do you, in your own words, really quickly want to introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Sure, my name is Lyle. I do a bunch of things, but I think you wanted me to come on here to talk about the Therapy Gecko that I do. That's what I'm doing the most right now.
Well,
Uh,
we could do anything. I mean, we could talk about all of it. We can
no, we
do.
don't have to talk about, how I cut, uh, you know, make make videos for my father's law practice or anything like that. I
Okay.
think the gecko thing
Okay.
is more interesting.
Um,
Um,
I mean, that's how I came across you. Let's just put it that way.
mhm.
Okay, but you do a lot of different things, is what you're getting at, right? And you stream mostly video production, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah, video production.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess my name is Lyle. Yes, and I do the Therapy Gecko stream on Twitch, and I
Okay.
cut clips of it for my TikTok. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm not good at talking about myself, which is a bad quality of a podcast guest. But I think we can.
No, I mean that's my job. My job is to kind of like guide the conversation, so it's no biggie. Yeah, okay. So I mean, the therapy gecko is one thing. I mean, I think it's such an interesting concept. First and foremost, are you a trained therapist?
No, not at all. Why? I'm terrified of people thinking that. I was about to change the show. I had a like I had a weekend where I was seriously gonna. I still might do it. I could do it at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Change the show from Therapy Gecko to Gecko Chat
Okay.
because I you would think that being dressed up as a gecko and in face paint and answering
Mm-hmm.
most questions not seriously would cue people into the fact that I'm not a real therapist. But it doesn't do the job as well as I would have hoped.
You never know, man. I mean, people are looking for any way to kind of get work or to kind of clout all this stuff, right? So it's just one of those things where you're just like, okay, you never know. But I figured I'd ask, so people
Yeah,
could watch and then at least understand that this is an actual therapist.
I used to now I tell everyone at the beginning of the stream, and I have it in my rules that I like don't call me if you need actual
No.
therapy. I think now, like, when
Mm,
people come on, if they are like, I mean, I take serious calls and I'll talk about like serious things, but if
mm.
someone's really like unloading or like is really mentally distressed, I have to kind of end the conversation and tell them that they need to see a real therapist.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I mean, uncovered you via Twitch, right? Twitch was in this. You just get kind of snapshots of like the conversation, all this stuff, and I'm wondering. I mean, I have me and my friend. I sent him your profile, and he thought you were hilarious, man. He just think
Oh,
he
cool.
thinks
Thanks.
you're awesome. So, and I do too, because you I think you saved some of the best clips for that, right? So,
Mhm.
I haven't gotten on and streamed your full kind of show, all your content, and all of this stuff. So I'm wondering how often that happens. Like, is that something that people are just like getting on there and just seeking help because they don't know who to talk to? Is that something that happens to you, or is it
I
mostly
feel like
just for fun?
I still think it depends on a few things. I think
Mhm.
that oh, so did you find the stream through Twitch or through TikTok or
TikTok.
through
I found out you through TikTok.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think when the stream, I didn't used to have a TikTok.
Hmm.
I used to stream on RPAN, and I would build um my stream from Reddit and then send them over to Twitch. And I feel like when
Okay.
the stream was smaller,
Uh-huh.
people would talk more about therapy. I think it depends. I think like if because I don't post any like serious clip. I don't. There are serious moments of the show, or not like serious, but like
Hmm.
I don't want to use
Hmm.
the word serious, but like
Sure.
but perhaps more sincere
Hmm.
moments of the show, which I'm cool with. But I don't post those on TikTok. So if you find out about the show through TikTok, which is all just like funny clips, you'll
Yeah.
go in thinking, you'll go in understanding that it's supposed to be a funny show.
Right. Right.
if you happen to catch the stream just at a point where I am having a more sincere conversation,
Conversations.
you might think that the whole thing is insincere. I guess it depends on where I
Sure.
initially catch it.
Sure, sure. You have a little more control on these other platforms because you're showing people what you want them to see versus just kind of like everything that just kind of comes across your desk, right?
Right. And
Okay.
also lately I've been
Hmm.
more, I think there were times when I've had some streams where I was more sincere. And I think lately I've made a more concerned effort
Yeah.
to be less sincere, so I stop getting people who think I'm a real therapist. But
yeah.
I do like having, genuine discussions when they come up. I think the best is when it's like a mix of both, but it doesn't you know, get too therapy-y.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's I mean, I will say that you have kind of this like deadpanness of yourself, you know. And I want to ask like is this is a character that is it you or is this the character you're kind of you're putting on, right? Are you performing to say the least?
Yeah, it's definitely a performance. I mean, some of it is like
Okay.
wow, because I was talking to I talked to like a lot of my friends in real life who like
Mhm.
watch the stream, and I
Mhm.
was talking to
Mhm.
one of my friends, and he was like, and he told me something that you were telling someone on the show is something that you have told me much time. So it
Yeah.
is. So it is me. There is like when I'm like going on rants about things, or they are like, I would say it's an exaggerated version of myself.
That's usually what I hear of people who perform, who podcast, who do different things like that or
Yeah.
stream. I mean, most of the time, even actors, right? They'll be they're pretty. I mean, like Jim Carrey, you see they're pretty much the same guy in every
Hmm.
movie, but it's a slightly kind of tweaked and exaggerated version of who he actually is in person, right?
Hmm.
And that's why you see the same thing from film to film. So I'm assuming it's the same thing with you. Do you consider yourself a performer? Like how did you end up doing this?
Uh, I mean, I started doing stand-up comedy when I was like,
Okay.
a teenager, and I
Hmm.
did that for a while, and then I stopped because I got more into like producing comedy shows
True.
than I did
True.
actually performing. I
Yeah.
don't, and I also realized I didn't like stand-up because,
Oh no.
but what I like about streaming is way more fun. Streaming and like podcasting is way more fun than stand-up because
Okay.
stand-up, you could tell this. First of all, I hate to sit down and write. And stand up,
Yeah.
like you could go in and you could tell the same 10 minutes of stand
Hmm.
up
Hmm.
and it's the same each time. And I got fucking sick of like telling the same jokes, but I also didn't want to write new ones. With streaming, it's
Yeah.
funny because I get to like
It's
be
freestyle.
funny in the
Yeah.
moment
Yeah.
and like,
So you're more of an
uh,
improv guy, right? Like more just kind of going
yeah,
to.
I used to like when I was doing stand up, I used to get jealous of like improv people because it's
Hmm.
like they didn't have to write anything. They don't have to like think. They're like when I would have a stand up set later that night, I would think like, oh, what are my jokes going to be? Oh, I have this new bit, but I need to like refine it before I get up there. And I
Hmm.
was like, but in improv, you just like, oh, it's time to go on stage. Okay.
Hmm.
And then you just get up and you do it right then and there. But I don't like
Yeah.
the format of improv, and I'm also bad at collaborating with people. So this the
So you're like
streaming
this is a solo project. So okay, so like solo project, you like kind of the yeah. I mean, it seems like this is the platform that was meant for you, right?
Mhm.
What it's still kind of going back a little bit more, but what about you wanting you to kind of make people laugh? Was it a desire to make people laugh, or was it just kind of a who you've always been situation?
Uh, I think I've always been
Sure.
like, I mean, since like, I've been doing stand up since, I was young, and I've been
Hmm.
I've been making like movies, like
Right.
comedy and stuff since I was like 14.
Yeah.
So, I've always been like wanting to perform and like do funny stuff.
Okay.
Uh, the Therapy Gecko came from, I usually just tell people it's because I had a gecko suit, and it is true.
Yeah, I was
But I
gonna.
think
That's. I
the
mean,
more
you
real
pretty much is my.
answer
That's. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you.
is when quarantine started,
Sure.
my friends and I, we were bored, and we used to just go live on Instagram together
Oh
and
yeah.
just
Yeah.
fuck around, talk, and like we'd stream to like 2 people
Yeah.
or 3 people, like, of just, like, my old high school friends who followed me on Instagram and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that was fun, and, I liked doing that, and then there's a lot of stuff in between, like, I streamed a film festival that I
Mm.
did that was back
Mhm.
in May, and I was interviewing people then,
Oh,
um,
nice.
but, I remember thinking like, "Oh, I'm having fun doing this. But everyone who's in my stream, everyone who's in my little Instagram live, like they all know me. They're all like my friends. I
Hmm.
wonder, like, I was like, thought of myself, like, could I do this in front of strangers?"
Right.
And
Right.
then RPAN came along, and I started doing stuff on RPAN
Yeah.
as the Therapy Gecko, and then people started watching it on RPAN a little bit, and then I was like, okay, maybe I can do this in front of strangers, and then like, you know, that's kind of how it got going a little bit.
So how big's your following now?
I think I have like 105,000 on TikTok, like
Yeah.
5,000 on Twitch.
Okay.
Uh, I have like 5,000 on Reddit, but that doesn't really matter because no one cares about following
On Reddit.
people on Reddit.
And
Um,
Instagram, is it getting up there?
yeah, Instagram is I have like 2,500, but I don't know how many of
Yeah.
them are
Yeah.
bots or,
Yeah, it's
trying.
because I see a lot of the same stuff on TikTok and then on Instagram. And I'll share if I'm sharing something that you have on there, it's typically from Twitch straight to Instagram, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and so I will say, I mean, how do you keep such a straight face, man? Like some of the stories that people kind of tell you, I'm like,
Uh,
really? I think the first,
I have
yeah,
in my head of like there are sometimes when I don't um 2 of my YouTube clips that I
yeah,
have. I don't know if you see any of these, but there's the one where it's called a chat with Pat,
okay,
and I'm talking to this guy about whether or not he thinks he's a ghost,
yes.
and
Maybe you are a
I don't
ghost. I don't know.
know.
Maybe I
Yeah,
am.
that made right. I cut that clip at the I literally was on Premiere, and I was like cut it at the very last frame before I start smiling because I thought with the way he said that, I think my life would be a lot different. I started.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just, it's so funny, man. I think the one that really got me, and the one that I shared with my friend and made us fans of yours were, when what's the was it the worst thing you've ever done?
Oh yes, the poop lady.
Yeah, the poop lady in the Delaware River, right?
Hmm.
And how she just had to float alongside of it, and people had to go through it.
What also what I was gonna say is I have
Hmm.
when people are telling me those things, I have it in my head of like
What
if
you were
I laugh,
thinking.
I'm gonna ruin the clip.
Right,
I mean,
right.
now I'm not really gonna ruin because I've now learned that like I can edit and I can manipulate it to like make it look
Sure.
like if I do end up laughing and I fuck up, I can just fuck with the
Snip
audio
it.
and the video,
Yeah.
make it look like you're not
Right.
laughing. But I have in my head like, oh, if I laugh, I'm gonna fuck this up. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
stay straight faced. I also laughed, or I was smiling, I guess, when that lady was telling me how she wants to be a mushroom. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I think so.
um,
Yeah, you get some. So are these people? These people are messing around, right? Like they're joking.
I know as much as I know as much as you do about that. You know,
Okay, okay. Because I mean, the poop one, I'm just like, okay. I mean, that sounds legit. Like I feel like that can happen, right?
some people I can tell, like you can tell when people are like being
Okay,
genuine or not. And I
okay.
think everyone like I get like now that TikTok has been I think back when the stream was smaller when I was just doing it on Reddit, like people
Hmm.
would call in and talk about it. But now I think that people now that like I'm making it into a podcast, people know that I'm reposting, people know that I make TikTok clips. I think
People are
people
doing
call
it for
in
the
like
effect. Yeah.
yeah, they call in and they're like, I want to be content. And
Hmm.
I have, and you know what? I'm just as guilty because I have in my head like I want this to be
Sure.
what
I
I
mean,
really
we're
want
all
to do
doing
is
content.
fucking talk
Yeah.
to people, and then whatever happens out of that, without having in my head like, oh, is this conversation gonna be a good TikTok clip.
Yeah, no, I get you. You're like, this is it. This is gold. This is going to be one of my clips, right? This is going to be the clip or the teaser for the episode.
Mm-hmm,
You do start thinking that way,
mm-hmm.
which is kind of crazy to a really strange way to think, but it very much is kind of like a producer's way to think.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Because I'm also like, because I mean, I'm doing everything. I'm like edit. I mean, now I have help. I have someone who's helping me edit together the
Sure.
podcast and the YouTube.
Sure.
But like,
Yeah.
I cut all the TikTok clips and I produced the whole thing and I'm in it. So it's like I'm thinking about everything and I'm thinking about like TikTok growth strategies and I'm thinking about everything that I need to not think about because I just need to be talking to this person. Uh,
Well,
um,
yeah, no, I mean that happens. That happens, and it's I mean, I think the longer you do it, the easier it gets. I mean, you already have somebody helping you edit, right? So that's a big deal. Did
mhm.
you expect? I mean, going into quarantine, you weren't doing this, right?
No, I was well,
Yeah.
okay, so it's a lot of things all kind of came together at once because
Okay. Okay.
one of my I have a bunch of different things that I do.
Sure.
I'm basically like for my real job, I'm basically a freelance video editor, social media
Sure.
person.
Okay.
And so I help edit other people's podcasts and I help other people. I basically do like what the person who's helping me edit this podcast does
Right.
for me. I
The
basically
producer, like
other
you're the
people.
producer, right?
So I've done it
Yeah.
I've done what I'm doing for myself for a billion other people. So
Yeah.
before I for me, so I feel like I have a better idea now of like, okay, I knew here's our workflow of like, put out a clip
Mm-hmm.
this day, and then put up full highlights this day, and then add captions,
Right. Right.
and then do this, and then do that. And so I learned how to do that for other people before I was doing it for myself.
That's an
So
interesting kind of thing to say because it's I find that so much of because I've been guests on other people's podcasts and shows and stuff as well, right? So knowing a lot of this stuff, um, it strangely enough helps you be quote unquote the talent,
yeah.
right? Because you know how it's going to what needs to be captured, how you need to say things,
Hmm.
rephrasing things, how things could potentially be edited. So, do you feel like it's made you a better performer in that sense because of that?
I do think it's important. I think it's
Hmm.
very helpful to like if
Yeah,
you're to know both sides of a job.
yeah, yeah.
It helps me like because now I'm the talent, but then
Hmm.
before I was editing for talent, so now I kind of know how to do both
Both.
things if I need someone to do
Right.
something for me. But uh, does it help me perform better? No, I think it helps me. I think it makes me perform worse actually, for all the reasons that we've said. Of like,
Because you're too conscious of it, really?
yeah, and now I have this problem where like
Okay.
now that the podcast like before it was just the stream and then we started doing clips and now that we're doing like a podcast and I want to make
Mhm.
the podcast sort of insular of like
Okay.
um I don't want it to feel like it's cut from a stream. I want it to feel like it is a podcast.
So
And so
that's
now
gonna be
I'm
a
not kind of
task,
like
yeah.
and so
Yeah.
now when I'm talking to people I should just be talking to people but now I'm like
Conscious
there's
of
a
it.
difference. I feel like there's a difference between what
Yeah.
is best for stream, what is best for a clip,
Hmm.
and what is
Hmm.
best for podcast in terms of the presentation.
No,
Uh,
absolutely. We used to stream this podcast a long time ago on Twitch, and I was somebody that I had interviewed, and she's like, "Hey, I'm looking for content. Like, come on, and we'll do the live version of the podcast, do all this and that." But then we sacrificed a lot of the quality for the podcast because of it,
mm-hmm.
because it was just kind of like the sound and moving, looking over at guests, and trying to frame it correctly. There was limitation in space. There was so many different things, right? And yeah, no, I absolutely agree that there are differences, right? You're explaining things to the listener versus kind of letting them just see it.
Right.
Those little things, it takes a lot. I mean, you see the big ones, right? You see the Tom Seguras, you see the Joe Rogans, you see all of them. They have like, I don't know how big of a team helping them produce that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's gonna carry. right? But they're also aware. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched and listened to a same episode of somebody who does both. You can tell who of the guests or who of the people are aware of their audience at all times, because
Yeah.
they're like, okay, describe what you're listening to or what you're seeing, right? And they're like, they over explain,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's something very important. Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's like when you're doing a stream,
Sure.
especially on like Twitch, the whole thing is like it should be like interactive with the audience right then
Right.
and there as you're doing it.
Yes.
So like if I'm talking to someone on the phone and then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, Juicy Boy 29 in the chat says that you should do this about your problem. And then that's fun for Twitch. But then if you're listening to that on a podcast, I'm like, I'm not in the chat right now. I'm in my car. Who the hell is Juicy Boy 25? You know? So I
Yeah.
have to kind
Yeah.
of make it insular for each thing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and I can see that. I can see where you're coming from. I think for me is that if somebody's coming to you into your content regularly, they have an idea of they know that they need to kind of suspend reality for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And that they're coming to you with this kind of like, okay, the content's originally from this, so I need to watch it or listen to it over here, right? So going back to those two examples, like Joe Rogan, I can listen to it very easily on audio and not have to worry, because he's very good about translating to the audience that's listening,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But there's another podcast that I can only really watch it because they're it's a funny podcast, but like they show a lot of video content, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to watch it. Like I need to watch it to really kind of gather what's going on, because their reactions are so over the top. You're like, oh wow, like I'm really missing a lot of the show because of this, right?
Yeah.
So it really kind of comes down to the content, right? And what kind of host you are. Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, you are a talent, but like you're also the host, right? And people are coming, the stories are fun, but no matter what, people are going to be going from each thing for you, right? Do you feel that pressure, and also do you feel yourself becoming kind of a quote unquote host?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I'm like, part of me, I like. There are other comedians
Sure.
who do a sort of similar thing, and
Yeah,
they are
yeah.
like, I'm not the kind of guy where like I love. And maybe this is part of the reason I wasn't such a good stand-up is that I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
I would never want to do a thing where it's like, hey, this is 3 hours where I am supposed to be the funniest part of this. That would be too much. I couldn't sit there and like just
Yeah.
riff for 3 hours because that would be too much. I would get sick of myself.
Okay.
So to me, I'm cool with like I let people talk a little bit more than like I think um
Sure. Sure.
I try to let people talk because I'm like I like when I'm not the funniest part of a thing. I like when like someone else is interesting or like giving
Mm-hmm.
someone else an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to be the interesting part of the show.
Yeah.
It would be too much pressure for me to
Yeah.
be the most interesting part of the show, and I also think that would make the show boring if I was always the most interesting part of it. I think that
Mm-hmm.
as like a host,
Yeah.
it's almost like when you're hosting like a comedy show, like you should be able to keep it going, but it's not all about you.
Right. Like there's some crowd work in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. No, and I absolutely agree with you. Like, although it was somebody who was in marketing who had told me that like the people listen over and over and over again are listening for you, right? So don't
Mhm.
forget to throw yourself in there. But at the same time, yeah, like what makes a good host or even like a good quote unquote therapist is a good
Mhm.
listener, right? So
Right,
you gotta let your guests kind of like guide the conversation a little bit, and then your job is really kind of to like rein it in and steer it, put it back on course, right? To bring it
and
to
that's even like
that story. Yeah.
an improv thing. Like the worst improv is
Hmm.
always the worst improv is five people all trying to be funny.
Right.
Whereas I think good improv is all people like listening to each other and building off of each other, as opposed to like
Hmm. Hmm.
I have a funny line in my head that I need to get out right now because I am funny.
This is what I want to. I'm gonna make my line fit the scene versus just kind of going with the
Right.
flow. the scene.
Exactly. Versus just going with the flow, and I prefer to just kind of go with the flow and add on
Yeah,
to what,
I absolutely
because
agree with you. Hmm.
then it's like then even the person I'm talking to is like, I mean, this is even a thing. And you ever have a conversation and then you talk and then someone says something that they could have said without having listened to you at all. They just already had what they were going to say queued up.
They're waiting for their turn to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to avoid that because I don't think that makes a good conversation. Although I do it.
No. I think we get so stuck on like our points of views and perspectives that sometimes we do get stuck in that. And I absolutely agree with you.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it makes absolute sense, right? And it's you gotta a good conversation allows a person to go with the flow, and you want your listeners to really get caught up in what's going on, right? Feel like they're part of it as well. And if a good conversation is happening, a good interview is happening, the listener is going to feel like they're following the logic naturally themselves, right? Like they can just
Yeah.
insert themselves at any point. And earlier on when I had this show, yeah, when it was people, mostly people I knew, people would feel like they were having the discussion with me and shoot me a text. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Because they thought
Mhm.
they were part of it, right? So there's a lot of people also who will ask me like, what's your list of questions? And I'm like, like a general kind of like, who are you and what do you do, right? But for the
Yeah.
most part, like the conversation needs to flow naturally.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
that's why people really enjoy it. Or even if it's super planned out, even then, like that's when you have to be a good performer, is because you got to replicate that feeling of the naturalness and the flow and all of that stuff, right?
Hmm.
So how much of there's no plans, there's no everyone like that actually calls in is actually calling in, and you're just kind of going off of that. And again, it's all improv, right?
Yeah.
Um, what's the craziest thing that you've heard somebody tell you? Like in your opinion, what's like the wildest?
I got the fucking that mushroom thing was awesome because that woman, I don't know if she was playing, but she didn't sound like she was. The
So can
craziest
you
thing,
recap it? Recap it. What was the mushroom thing for our
she
listeners?
just, I think she this woman called in and she
Yeah.
started talking about how you can be anything you want in life, but society won't always accept you for it. And I asked her what she would be, and then she went on to describe. I think I made this into a TikTok clip. She went on to describe that she would be a beautiful mushroom by a lake underneath some trees, and it was just I don't know.
Okay.
It's just kind of bizarre, but it's kind of nice and
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. No,
anything else.
I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to see if I can find the is it a chat with Patty?
N- Uh, oh, are you trying to play it for the podcast?
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I
Oh,
can
but if you want to go to I think it's on my Instagram,
yeah.
and then if you go to all my the upper right hand corner, it's the last thing I actually remember hallucinating. If you click on that, that would be it.
Okay. So it's just I mean it's and you guys if you guys don't get to see it, that's fine. I mean, but you'll get to listen to it at the very least. It's something that's super um oh, there's an actual. Did you know that there's a therapy gecko breeder? Let me pull this up. So I'm
To
gonna
the leader.
look. So this is what came up when I this. That's what came up.
Oh,
Huh? That's not you, right?
that's cool, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now you know. I mean, you should have them on the show. Is
I've
that
been, dude. I've been. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll have like an actual gecko.
like an actual guest,
Dude, I thought
or an
about
actual guest?
buying.
Really?
I had like I had like a day where I thought about buying a gecko, but then I imagined like one day I'll forget to feed it and I'll come home and it'll be dead and that'll be sad. And I know that I'm irresponsible and I can't. Oh, I'm surprised that there's more than one
I'm
therapy.
having a hard time. Yeah, there's Miley the Wrecking Ball, Therapy Gecko. Wow, man.
Therapy.
What's your handle? I mean, so people.
I'm a Lyle forever.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So Lyle, that's right. That's why it's going to come up that way. Okay. Um. Okay. So which one is this? This
Yeah, it's
one.
the one all the way on the right.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here.
Yep.
Let me know if you can hear it. Can you hear it?
Oh, I don't think I can hear it. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear it though, but
That was funny, man.
that one made me laugh. It hurt. I haven't heard from her. She hasn't called back in. I don't. She's not in. She's
So,
isn't.
so you have regulars. So you have regulars. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I do have regulars that call in. I don't love. It's something I don't love. Like I like sometimes
Mm-hmm.
a return call can be fun. It can be
Uh-huh.
fun if like they follow up on something. But a lot of times, like especially as the stream grows, and like people are typing in my Twitch chat, like I have called 200 times and I have not gotten in.
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
I want to be able to talk to some new people, but
Yeah, yeah. But you don't have
it's
anybody
fun to
kind of
have return
vetting.
callers.
You don't have
Yeah,
anybody vetting. It's just like whoever gets through gets through.
yeah. I got to change that.
I mean,
I
you're
got to.
growing. You're growing, man. Like this is the thing, right? So, I mean, it is a thing now, I guess, right?
We'll see. I'll keep doing it until it's not a thing. Until people
Okay.
stop
And
watching.
so that was my next question: is like how far are you going to take this?
I've been thinking about this lately, and I'm like,
Sure.
when something starts kind of growing, you have in your head like, you're nervous that it's gonna stop,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to get that out of my. I want to not. I want to be okay with this all going away tomorrow. Like if I,
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
want
Yeah.
to, it's just not healthy to care so much about to be
Yeah.
stressed or something not
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
but I'll keep going until I start posting TikToks that don't get any views, or until my stream numbers go down, or until
Okay. As
don't
long
have
as the
time.
demand's there, you're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing. I have a million plans of like I
Yeah.
want to get right now. I'm like trying to build up everything, and like the momentum is
Sure.
growing really hard. I'm trying to keep growing, but I want
Sure.
to get to a point where like, I can focus more on the content itself, and like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm you know what another thing is? I feel like there's with something like this, there's like I would say three metrics, which is like are people who are watching it gonna keep, maybe four. Let's call it that. Tell me if you agree with this, as someone who
Okay.
also
Sure.
makes stuff. Are the people who already watch it gonna keep watching? Are they gonna stay interested? Are new people is this gonna be able to attract new people?
Mm-hmm.
There's those sustainability metrics. Is this gonna be able to make money so that
Sure.
you can spend more time on it?
Mm-hmm.
And then to me, the most important thing is, am I gonna get bored? Because like
Right.
if I sit down in that chair and I'm like, and I'm on stream and I'm like, I'm sick of doing this, then that's a problem. Then everything else doesn't matter, because the show's gonna be bad if I don't like doing it. But then I think
Yeah.
at that point,
Yeah.
that hasn't happened yet. I mean, I guess it happens some days, but overall, I'm
Mm-hmm.
enjoying doing it. But then at that point,
Yeah.
I'm like, I can be like, well, okay, what can I do to make the stream more fun for me? How can I start
Yeah.
inviting on guests? Can I start doing different kinds of, can I start switching it up? Can I add a little bit of structure?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I have a strategy in mind for if I do get to the point where it starts
Okay.
boring me, is,
Good.
I'll
Good.
ways to
Yeah. To keep
switch
yourself
it up.
back in it. Yeah. It's no, definitely. Like you said, there are days where you're just like, oof. Like
Hmm.
you're struggling. You have to get this interview together, or do this, or do that, or kind of get or you're just kind of like, wow, it's been a minute since I've done something. I need to get like a guest or get content
Mhm.
together, right? And then all of a sudden it all comes at once. So it just kind of ebbs and flows, right? And I mean, it's part of the deal, because it's so much
Totally.
is based on you, because you are the talent, right? So it's like, whether you want to do it, whether you want to get together and put on the show, put on the stream, put on the makeup because you wear green makeup. That's also a thing, right? So it's a lot to put
Mhm.
together, you know.
You know what I'll say though is a lot of people ask. I've been saying this on stream a lot. A lot of people ask me about the makeup, and they're like, "How
Hmm.
long does it take you to get makeup?" And I always am like, "The makeup is putting on the makeup is the easiest part of the whole thing." In fact, you
Yeah.
know what? Lately the actual time I spend on the stream, like those 3 to 4 hours that I spend actually in the
Hmm.
chair
Yeah.
talking to people doing the stream, is
Yeah.
the most relaxing
Part
part.
of it.
It's
Hmm.
the I mean I don't want to say easy, but like it's the least stressful part
Hmm.
because I'm in the chair and I'm taught the every like my most stressful moments are not on stream. Even if there's like I mean, even and like there has been on like Reddit, like if there's like thousands of people watching, or like
Hmm.
I'm still just like calm. Like in my mind, I'm like meditating because I have the fucking little chakra
You
music
turn the
or
switch on,
whatever.
like you turn like a switch on, and
Yeah,
you're performing, right?
yeah, I'm performing, and it feels like meditative, and I'm sitting in the
Mhm.
same place for it feels. It's when it's like Monday at 1 p.m. when I'm like, fuck, I gotta find a good picture of the sky, and I gotta find music that won't get me DMCA'd into space, or like or I'm cutting a TikTok and I'm like, this isn't working, or I'm like answering a DM, or and it's all the
Hmm.
actual being on stream in front of people is the least stressful part, and
Hmm.
putting on the makeup,
Yeah.
it's everything
The pre and post
before and
production.
everything
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. Yeah. Pre and post production.
Hmm.
Did you wait? We just reminded me. You got kind of banned from Twitch for a second.
Yes, I did. I got banned from Twitch for 3 days.
What? So what happened? I mean, for our listeners, I know what happened, obviously, but.
So there's this a fan. His name is Cameron. He's a good
Hmm.
man, sweet man. He bought his own gecko costume,
Hmm.
um, and he sent me a picture of himself. I think he met
Hmm.
this other fan I think in like my Twitch chat or my Discord or something,
Yeah.
and then him and I think his friend or his girlfriend or something, and then that fan met up and they like had a threesome, and he sent me a picture of himself in the gecko suit
Yeah.
with the two with other girls, and they were naked in bed, and they were like covering up their breasts with their arm. But
Hmm.
and then he texted me that while I was on stream, and I started laughing because it was really, and everyone in the chat's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I was like, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Okay, they're covering up.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah. They're
covering
covering
up
up.
on Twitch." I'm like, "Okay, they're covering up with their hands." So I put it on. That was fucking dumb of me. I put it on the stream. I shouldn't have done that. But and then my account got suspended, and then I looked closer at the picture. I thought this like Oscar was
Slur.
it was a microscopic nipple showing, like the tiniest little nipple. I mean, again, not I deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first time I saw you break character and just be like, I'm really sorry about that. You say,
You know, uh, when it first happened, I was so upset because I didn't know it was like
I
when
think.
it first happened. I was like, "Oh fuck, am I banned forever?"
Hmm.
And then I thought it was only 3 days. And I was like, "All right." And then I was thinking like, "Oh man, I'm gonna lose so much growth," and I started to get pissed. But
Hmm.
then the next morning, I started thinking about. I don't know if you saw that video that I made about it, but I
Hmm.
started like coming up with that video in my head, and I was like, "Oh, this could be kind of funny." And then
Yeah.
I made the video and I posted it, and then I was like, and then I felt kind of proud of myself because I was like, "Oh, I felt genuinely very shitty about this," but
Yeah.
then I was able to make it into
Hmm.
like a funny thing. and that felt
Mhm.
good to be able to
You
do
felt,
that.
yeah, you turn it around and you're just like, oh, by the way, Twitch, I'm really sorry about that. At the very end of the clip, no, and that's the clip I'm referencing because that's how I found out. And it was that cracked me up, man. I'm like, because it sounds like you're getting a fan base, and that's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Is this something you ever expected? I mean, you wanted to be a stand-up comedian at one point, but like, did you think it would happen this way? Let's put it that way.
um, I feel like it took a while for me to find a thing because like I always knew that like I had this video when I was 16. I had this video of me doing stand up like go kind of viral on Reddit,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing ever came of that because
Sure.
I didn't really like doing it. Wasn't sustainable. You
Mm-hmm.
can't write it just doesn't work. But
Mm-hmm.
this is like a little bit easier to sustain
Yeah.
because I make the content fresh.
And you
And
really sounds like you really enjoy it versus the other stuff.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
The process of doing it is much more straightforward. Because what I was doing before then, I had a tiny little fan base. Like it was really small from like making YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but what's annoying about making YouTube videos is that when you make YouTube videos. When you make YouTube videos, you're alone in your basement and you're writing. You're alone, and it's boring to just sit there and edit,
Yeah.
and then you put it out. But this is fun because I'm like in the and then you're like I'm editing some shit and then I'm on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
looking at bullshit and then you're just procrastinating. But this is 4 hours where I'm in the moment of what I'm doing. And that feels
Yeah.
really good as opposed to like procrastinating on editing videos. And then the cool thing about the fan base for
Mm-hmm.
me is that it's accountability. Like I told everyone that I would be on stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I gotta be there. I can't just like fuck
Right.
around.
Right.
Coolest thing about having a following is its accountability. It makes it easier to
To
be
keep
there,
doing it. To
especially if
keep
you're a
doing it.
streamer and like shows are going live at certain times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
People
don't
start
know
asking you. So what?
what were we saying.
I said it's just like people start following you. I mean, with the podcast, people are just like, "When is your next episode coming on?" you know.
Mhm,
And so, yeah, you get the pressure to be more consistent, right? And
mhm.
all of this stuff, and it just becomes habit. You're like, okay, this and that, and you start doing whatever. And um, would you be doing this? Do you think if it wasn't for the pandemic? Honestly,
No, I wouldn't be doing. I don't think I would be doing it if it
yeah.
weren't for a pandemic. I think I would be like the pandemic. I have been. I feel bad saying this
Oh no,
because
no,
I know
I,
the
I've
pandemic
said,
is.
I've said the same thing, and I know what you're going to say.
Yeah,
But say it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I know that. I mean, a lot of people have this view. Like for me personally, I have this like thing in my where like I'm always thinking about everything else I could be doing. Like if I'm fucking making a YouTube, if I'm doing anything, think about the 9,000 other things that I could be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if I were doing a stream and there was no pandemic, I would be like, man, I should be like fucking like going on African safaris right now, or like
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I should be doing this. I should be and for the one time in fucking human history, opportunity costs aren't a thing because
Yeah.
I couldn't be doing
No.
African safari right now. I can't
Mm-hmm.
be doing anything. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting here doing this.
Yeah.
There's nothing better to be doing than doing what I'm doing
Right.
right
You're
now
doing.
because the outside world doesn't exist. That's a fucking gift of
Mm-hmm.
that. When would that ever happen? Of like everything
It
else.
forces you to be right now. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. It makes you cool with exactly what you're doing because there's not all the other opportunities of everything else that you could be doing because you can't
Mm-hmm.
do anything because you'll die.
And now you're doing the best thing that you can do, but is by doing this, right? So doing all these things. So yeah, absolutely. Or you'll die. Exactly. That's another way
And
to
then
put it.
thing that I like about this is that my big project before this was I was running an illegal comedy club out of my basement
Nice.
in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and that I loved doing that, but it wasn't sustainable or scalable because it was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You need like $1 million fucking dollars, like literally $1 million to
Mm-hmm.
actually open a comedy club. That's what I wanted to do, but you
Mm-hmm.
need it's not scalable.
Mm-hmm.
Like only people in Philadelphia or wherever you are would be able to be there. But
Mm-hmm.
with this, it doesn't cost. There's no startup costs. It's to
Mhm.
anyone everywhere. It has infinite scalability.
Yeah.
I can do it by myself. It totally works, pandemic or no pandemic.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so it kind of worked that. It's been like a combination of a lot of different things that I've
Yeah.
been learning how to do. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Um, what I guess I mean we can start wrapping it up, but I'm wondering like what do you hope to see? What do you see yourself kind of doing with all of this in the end? Like how big do you want this to get?
I mean, I'd love to. My goal now is I would just my dream is if I could, make $30,000 a year and live in a shitty house and only have to do that. That would be awesome.
Just 30K, huh?
How do I? I have no idea, but
Okay. Shitty
yeah,
house, 30K, and that's it.
yeah. If I could make McDonald's wages as Therapy Gecko, that would be awesome. Um, But then in terms of like I don't know. I think I have a million ideas. I think it'd be cool to
Yeah.
make but I don't like talking about them because then people will think I'm gonna do them and then I'll forget and I won't do them. But
I got you. I got you.
yeah, it's cool to uh right now I'm trying to stay in the moment. So right now I'm really focused on like I want to make this podcast good.
Mhm.
I want to
Mhm.
um my goal right now is to make a good content workflow strategy
Okay.
and um, do it in a way where I can also sleep at least 6 hours a night and eat real food. Uh,
Taste
and
self-care, man. It sounds like self-care. Yeah.
yeah, because right now I'm working on it like every single day, and like I want to
Mhm.
be able to. Yeah, I know these are like boring goals, but I want to be able to like it would be cool to be able to do it
Mhm.
for a living. I'm pretty far away from doing that, but that's what I have in mind. And
Yeah.
at that point, like once I can go all in and like just really focus on it, I'd love to create more content, like create different kinds of content. I
Explore.
want to do more. I want to do stuff not in the gecko suit, like my old little movies that I used to make.
Yeah. 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 So this
Be
is
cool to
just
do like a live show.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I like that, man. This is really cool, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. And that gets you make, and I don't know if you realize how you brighten people's days just by existing, man, and creating funny content. And honestly, like it's fun. I look forward to new clips all the time. So just keep at it, and like
Thank
you're gonna do
you. I
great,
really
man. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. We're gonna hit pause and then we'll debrief really quickly. But guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. We really appreciate you. Love you guys. Bye.